Cool. So let me screen share because I'll be using.
I clicked the recording button. So I want to say welcome to the SUSE QE Tools workshop. Lubos, you're getting set up. Sure, go ahead, share your screen.
Yeah, let's do a little introduction. So thank you for joining. Why we are talking about openSUSE repos today? Somebody on one of the previous sessions was actually touching the topic when we were submitting first test suite for openSUSE repos, and they wanted to know a little bit more about the package and what do we actually do. So I decided to actually propose it as a topic for one of the upcoming meetings. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important to test about like what we are trying to talk about what we are trying to achieve, because this package can mess up your system really badly. So a little bit about what openSUSE repos is about.
So you're talking about openSUSE repos
package. Correct. So there was an article on useOpenSUSE.org. We use the momentum of having access to Fastly CDN to somehow make it default for a relatively new package called openSUSE-repos, which basically provides definitions of repositories for Tumbleweed, for Slowroll, for MicroOS, for Leap Micro, for Leap. On most distributions, this package is not installed by default, and you use whatever was generated by SkullCD or a release package in case of Leap 15x, where we were actually also supplying like the update repos through openSUSE release package. And even going deeper, like why was the package created in the first place? On Leap 15, I believe too, we basically, 15.3, after closing the Leap gap, we had Coldmaster, and we realized that we forgot about one of the update repositories, be it for backports or for SLE. One of them was missing, and we had to respin GM. We were trying to figure out any possible way how to supply that package through maintenance update, and we didn't come up with anything decent. So I kind of created feature tracker for myself to improve this for the future. We revisited the online service, like basically you would return XML definition with repositories and Zipper would take it. Unfortunately, this was disabled on openSUSE in multiple spots. So we were actually thinking, okay, so we can't do a remote service like SLES does it. Can we at least do a local service, which is what we are basically using. So this is effectively a local service that returns you XML, or there is a file XML with all the definitions. I can show you how that looks like. It's very simple. Should be here. I don't know, Leap, for example. And
could you zoom in a little bit in your browser, like 140%?
It's a simple XML template. You can use variables. You can also refer to variables which are defined in etc zip, which can be really cool if you want to override the dist URL, for example. Since we've dropped ports and Tumbleweed has them, we also had to figure out how can we do it maybe for ports. So that's also solved through an additional variable. I think it's better seen on Tumbleweed. What was it, dist arc or something like that? No, sorry, ports. Tumbleweed, that's NVIDIA, openSUSE, Tumbleweed, ports. Here, I think that we are using something called dist arc somewhere. Dist arc. This is actually variable defined in etc zipd, and you can reference. Please notice that there is a different variable for like what's in on the XML itself defined, and different what is like system-wide zipper variable. Okay, so very easy. You have this XML, and then Zipper locally generates your repo definitions from it. Okay, so basically, if you want to add repository, remove repository, you added this XML through package update of openSUSE repos, right? And that regenerates all of the repositories in etc. They all have prefix, like I can show you. I'm using that package here. So if you would do something like zipper lr, you can see that all of that has openSUSE prefix, and that will be the same in the directory. So if you do ls/la etc zip repos, you will also see that some don't, right? These are the legacy, and you can see that we do not remove them. We store them as RPM safe ones on the installation, and then you have the ones which are actually managed by the service. So if you edit this file on the next refresh, like it will just get regenerated. So that's one thing that you have to realize. If there is an issue in the definition, we have to fix it in the XML, not here. Cool. So I suppose that this gives you an idea. What if we mess up the XML? What if somebody, for example, adds / here or removes it, which was the case in the past, right after Tumbleweed? and maybe one of the URLs will not work anymore, and you basically break any upcoming updates to your system, right? So that was actually something that happened in 15.6 beta, and that was like, for me, that was a failure. Like, this cannot happen, especially like after GA, because you cut off people from updates, and unless they know that they have to fix it, like, they will not receive any further updates.
Yeah.
If you are so unlucky to hit like OSS repository or update repository, right? So I was like really thinking this is bad, and we had a few more issues like that. We had no CI, no openQA, and that had to change. So I've created a tracker for myself. We've created a tracker in progress as well for any ideas. I think it's here. Yeah, basic coverage. And I was thinking, how can we test it? How can we test at least that repositories are fetchable, right? That's like very good check that you know that if there is a repo data directory or a repo MD file like that, that's probably giving a good chance that somebody didn't break the repositories. So we are doing it on two parts. One, on any upcoming pull request, we are actually running basic CI, which is relatively easy. We have little repo checks here, which is basically just taking any path or repository URLs. It's also somehow forcing variables, right? Like if it's lib, let's test it on 15.5. We can also test like different architectures and so on. On micro, we are checking, hey, is this for 6 or 5? The repositories look a little bit different. And we are basically running it in the container on any pull request. Makes it really works. Like that helps a lot. At least we catch some issues. It will not catch like if you are maybe adding, I don't know, tumbleweed paths to leap or so, but
right.
you don't cut off your update paths at least. So that's like the first part. And then how about open? And Andrei actually wrote extra check, which is really calling zipper under Ubuntu and checking if ref works. So we have these two checks, and I'm really happy that Andrei did it, because now we have two independent checks, and
So
one of
the
them
zipper
fails.
call is also in a GitHub action in a container environment?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So you can go to actions. You will see two actions, one CI, two. Yeah, both of them. Like one is from Andrei, the other one is from me. And I think Andrei has better approach. If you would have like a leap container or tumbleweed container, this would be even better. And it really like catches some issues. And now the openQA part. So on the openQA, we are testing it on leap and tumbleweed. I think it's in quite unfortunate test suite called extra tests, I think, console, which is huge. And we've just added one more. And we are basically doing similar thing that Andrei is doing. We are basically installing the package, including the NVIDIA, if it makes sense. And then we run zipper and see if it fails. I think this is basically the logic behind the test. Correct. And we are choosing the right flavor on right system, and then also checking, because NVIDIA is only available for Intel and ARM, then checking if that works. And yeah, if it fails, then we would fix it. We are also using the GPG auto import keys, because I believe at some point it typically asks, hey, do you want to import this? And I think openQA calls no. So,
yeah, in particular for the NVIDIA repos, I guess
correct.
you need them.
So this is what we do. I think that we should test it on all distributions, to be honest. Like in micro, we don't have this test suite, but I don't want to add like the entire console test, extra console test ones, because that would simply add too much of test suite, and most of these are not available on micro. But I'm quite happy with basically what we are covering. We are making sure that the package can be installed, right, before the product is or snapshot is released. We are testing whether the refresh works. Keep in mind that in case of openSUSE repos, we have to call either refs, refs, like it's one command, which means refresh service, or a zipper ref, like refresh -s to imply refresh of the service repositories as well. One of these has to be called initially after installation, and then like you are done. Like you don't have to touch that, like, yeah, in the future. And at some occasions, like this is refreshed automatically. 469.
469, go ahead. Can't hear you. Can't hear anymore.
By the way, before he fixes his audio, I realized that we are already testing it on micro, because this package is installed by default on micro 6.0, and therefore at least in basic test suites, we actually test package indirectly. So refs is called, but
because you assume that initially the repos are set up by that, and you're just relying on that while installing anything.
Correct. And like Micro 6.0 doesn't have definitions of repo anywhere else, so you really have to have that package in order to consume updates. It gets installed by.
Hello.
Yep. Yes, Santi, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Let me.
Now let me try to remember. Okay, so when it comes to this, so if I understand it well, this is a new package that is going to be available for lib 16. Lib 15.
It's everywhere. I can maybe, let me show you. You can speak. I will show screen, and I hope that it will answer some of your questions as you speak.
So it would be then available everywhere. So that means also Tumbleweed and lib micro and so on and so forth.
So we build it in base system, and we build it for all distributions.
Okay.
I think MicroOS may be actually using it by default. I know that Richard was actually talking that he likes the idea because he has like independent set of repositories for Aeon, even when they are actually same as for Tumbleweed. If you check, like definitions are basically the same at this point in time, but it may change. Which openSUSE repos make easy. Like if you want to add or change repos, it's a package update. That's it, right? And
so in this case, this is a package that in the future will take care of the maintenance of the official openSUSE packages.
I don't know. Like this is up to every release manager. On Micro 6, so I decided to do it this way. It's my package in the end. Like Neil Gompa was actually the initial person who showed me RPM repos openSUSE, which is equivalent package, but for DNF, specifically for DNF.
Okay.
Like he goes too much into pushing DNF by default. And Michael Andres told me, like, if people complain about complexity of managing repository files, I told you, like, we forget about repo, we have to supply it. You add one more repo during the lifecycle for Tumbleweed, that can be especially actually useful if a change happens, because you don't expect that people always like install it like with Lib has the opportunity of new major, and people tend to install it from fresh. With Tumbleweed, it's very random, right?
Exactly. So the main question here is, let's say we decide to move and make this the default for like everywhere. This means that users that are getting this as a first packet, the first time, do they need to take action manually, or is it all automatic?
So I can show you. We have a README about that on the. If you go to openSUSE repos on GitHub, let me send everybody a link. There is a little README saying how to install it, how to uninstall it, and actually shows you some basic like how to actually even use these services, right? So everybody can see my screen, or am I not screen sharing?
It's good.
Cool. So manual usage of zipper add service. AS is add service. Okay. So if you would have XML somewhere, it's in user share zip local something. You actually have to call add service pointing to that XML file, and then just call ref-s refresh include services, or if you do ref-s like instead of like ref-s, and that will refresh just services, and it will skip repo, but it will regenerate your repo files. Okay, easy. So you know that in etc zip repos d, it's all auto-generic. Doesn't make sense to actually edit it. You always want to edit the XML file and then call ref-s or refs. Depends if you want to refresh repos or not. So how do you enable or disable repo? Like you are probably used to do addition of etc zip repos d, right? Like you just edit the file. But like you can also use modify repo even for like definitions outside of risk management, repository index service management. There is a nice wiki about this, by the way. If you do this openSUSE wiki, yeah, like this is explained really well here. I believe that I am referencing it from here.
Okay.
So you use like basically zipper calls rather than manual edits. If you can, how to fix it? You edit XML file, you refresh, right? And if you want to remove it, so for installation, it's easy. You install openSUSE repos, you are set. You can function, like it will not touch your OBS repositories. There is a little, if you go to spec file, And that was actually a recommendation from Richard to approach it. Like, just go through known files that you are aware that we are using in the default distribution. So I took like a list of everything, and I call them as, I save them as RPM save, right? So they're not usable by zipper anymore, but we do not remove your definitions. If you uninstall it, you can revert it manually, right? Like you can just bring them back. That's so your only manual work is if you want to uninstall it. If you want to install it, it actually backs up your files for yourself. It will not touch any custom repositories, and it will take into effect immediately. If we miss some of the default files, if somebody adds something, we should also add it here, so it's somehow disabled on installation. And then basically we just update a single or two XML files, one for NVIDIA that's currently managed as well, and one for the main distribution, and you just touch the XML file. You don't care about how the resulting name is called, as long as it's under the openSUSE prefix or the NVIDIA prefix in our case. It will get regenerated or removed as you edit the XML file, which is really powerful. I kind of like that approach. It's confusing for people if you don't see maybe on the first side that anything in etc zipd, if you edit it, like it will get regenerated automatically and then your change is gone. So it's a little bit frustrating. Also, don't look how we actually call the initial add service in the spec. We have to use the read-only hack. So because we call zipper inside basically, RPM installation. So we have to say that doesn't influence the current transaction, but we can actually call zipper. This is useful hack if you want to do something like that. And on uninstall, we remove the service, but you have to manually.
I see. Okay.
So it's relatively easy. Again, like the only distribution which has it by default right now is Micro 6.0. It's available for. It's also on SLES. There was several features where somebody migrated from Leap to SLES or installed from Package Hub, and then they had the package. So I think 2 days ago, or day ago, I've added conflicts with SUSE products, like all of them, including like SLES 16 and SLED and SL Micro and SLE Micro. They both have different product provides. So this is now conflicting. So if you will migrate, package will be removed, so it will not cause any mess on the SLES, which is quite useful.
And the question here on the openQA side. So because you were saying like, hey, this will be nice to have.
So it's optional on Tumbleweed, on Leap 15.
Right now it's optional, right? Okay. Then I will just simply go ahead and maybe talk to
I think
Dominic at some point.
Dominic is aware. Like he's my boss, right? Like he's on every review when it comes to Tumbleweed. If he cares or not, that's his thing. But it's there, and if the adoption is successful, if we don't hear any complaints from Micro, even from like migration to maybe SL Micro, it's not supported, but people can do it. I think that would be a really good consideration to do so. I would also love to do it for Leap 16, but I really want to see if customers are used to this, if it doesn't create any issues on migrations, and if it doesn't raise frustration with us. Also, please be aware if Zipper and DNF, they can actually share the more or less the repository definitions. Like if you have certain specific attributes, like you can actually reuse them. This breaks it because what we generate is not actually consumable by DNF. Neil is not happy. But like we don't like Zipper has this beautiful feature that maybe is not exactly working for everyone, like all the packaging systems. But I think it gives me a lot of power to add, remove repositories as we need them without guessing what the file name is on the user's machine and so on.
Yeah. So to explain a bit more where or why I'm asking if it's already on Tumbleweed, because I don't remember who I was talking to, and I had this idea that maybe we want to have a separate test suites across the board.
Absolutely.
That is focused on testing either optional features or features that are experimental. So
for me, it would really make sense if this would be almost like separate. Like on Micro, it's now default, so probably not so much impact there. But if it wouldn't be default on Micro, I would be really happy if I can take just this part.
Exactly.
Like maybe all of the tests which are not compatible with Micro because the package is not there.
Yeah. So for years, I've been having this this long-term dream of harmonizing how we have the tests across the world, so both for SUSE and for openSUSE. And this plays very well into those kind of things that are optional in one product but not in another. And because after summer I want to really focus on the test coverage for micro, for SLES micro, for SL micro, and for LEAP micro as well, and maybe openSUSE micro. It's kind of a way to try to somehow come up with a vandemecum or a kind of a guidelines. Hey, if we are doing something that is default, it goes in this way. If we have something that is optional, it goes in this other way. So something similar that we have with the extra tests, or that we have with the stack tests. So we have Python stack tests for now. It could be something like experimental features and then a group of tests and so on and so forth. More or less the idea. I'm going on a different direction, but I know you see that that's being connected. So
correct. One thing that I would like to show you, we will actually, this will be especially useful now when we migrate from a micro 6.0 to 6.1. Can I screen share quickly? Let me show you on micro 6.0, we are now using 0.0 product compose, which is the new way how to build products by Adrian, compared to the old product builder Tumbleweed that we were using everywhere. Here. Maybe I should do vimdiv, but I think it's fine. You will get the idea here. If you check like the endings of the repositories, debug source in 6.0, right, micro 6. And if you check the endings, media 1, media 2, media 3 on micro 5.0, we have a different repository paths. So this is what the compose does. Adrian made me like compat siblings for the first release, but like he said, I'm not doing it for the 6.1. Like you just need to transfer users. And this is perfect, right, for this, because we can actually update the paths. Nobody will notice.
Absolutely.
So technically, and that goes to some of the drawbacks. Let me actually stop share. So if you would do something like that on LEAP, which is not transactional update based, how would the migration look like? So first, I would probably try to get like, if I would write a script that does the migration, right, I would probably get like the newest like zipper. If there is some edit feature, maybe in the next release, something like that, I would fetch new repository definitions, and then I would run zipper release where blah, 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 right? On LEAP, we tend to 15, you just do zipper release where and you know, since 15.3, we kind of make openSUSE and SUSE signatures equal, so it doesn't ask you for vendor change, but you know, for any other signature it would, right? That's another thing that may happen. But like generally, like you would install the new openSUSE repos, you would do zipper it would work, it would fetch the new update paths, and you would supply correct release there. But like if you would actually abort the installation, or if it wouldn't work, then you have to actually roll back to the previous version of openSUSE repos, which can be annoying for users. Maybe they don't know how to do it or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you remove the, right, what happens? You remove the package. Well, you think, okay, so I will remove it and install it again. What happens? Your repository definitions are gone, right? So, and then good luck with the next zipper install openSUSE repos command, because it will contain no repos, and you will probably have to roll back the RPM safe ones if they are available, right? If you know how to do downgrade, that will probably work well for you. But like it's not pleasant. That experience sucks, in my opinion. But like if you use transactional update system, you do transactional update, and then you start doing these. If you abort the transaction, nothing happened to your running system. So there it works really well. You don't have to worry about cleanup. But I think that the experience on the non-transactional update repositories should be a little bit different. That kind of bothers me. Otherwise, yeah. I really like the idea that you fetch new repository definitions before the upgrade. You know, did something change? And that I would like to make sure that happens on LEAP 15 to LEAP 16 migration, because I know for sure that repositories will be different. We already have different update paths for micro. What happened is that we no longer have dedicated update repository. The main repository simply contains all of the updates. I suspect that something like that will be the case for LEAP 16 too, as if maintenance agreed on micro 6.0 for such C micro 6.0 for such you know, maintenance setup. So I know that we will probably need to migrate repositories from old to new release in a way. So yeah, that really kind of pushes me for making a default on lib16.2 and making it non-default only for migrating people who are willing to maintain their own repo definitions, which is fair, right? We do the same with transactional update profile on lib15 when we dropped it in 15.6, but people who had it on the system before, they will still have the pattern and everything, it will work, but on new installs, we no longer want that. So yeah, I'm thinking of this for 16, and that tells me we will need more testing. And it could be also part of the upgrade test for 16.
Yes, definitely. Maybe we can sit and put our heads together with Joaquin, so that we also take care of the migration path.
We can talk on OSC about this.
Actually, I'm not sure if Joaquin is coming, but we can talk about this during OSC and really have something. Okay. Also, because some members of my team are going to be during the openSUSE conference, and we have openQA users meetup. We definitely can have a chat about this and figure out not what is the best way forward, but one that is good enough.
Another thing that I didn't touch and that maybe complicates life of other people is the fact that this package exists, right? And it somehow defines the paths. If you use RMT, you probably will have custom paths pointing to your RMT, right? And you will probably want to remove this package. There are some other people who also maintain their own definitions. Maybe they have like a repository in the middle with the updates, and they do their own kind of slow roll approach. And that then, if you do not ship it with other definitions than openSUSE repos, they may be unhappy.
Also keep in mind that for the actual openQA test, like in testing a new snapshot of Tumbleweed or any other product,
you need custom repos, right?
Yeah. Okay. So for the RMT, and most likely somebody is also running SMT somewhere as well. But it's good.
You can custom this URL. Like if you can set zip variable, well, that feature is kind of partially merged. Like I didn't want to finish it because there were some, there were some issues that I was kind of getting from Michael. Like it was not exactly, there was some bug. I remember that we couldn't fully finish it. Maybe it's now fixed. But if you do that, then RMT could use this variable as long as the path stays the same. Just change the server, which may not be the case actually.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, something that would make life easier, and people would still be able to read at least default definitions. They wouldn't have to uninstall the package. Maybe just deactivate it, but not necessarily uninstall.
Exactly. I think that once we really start putting, our heads together, we will start getting places. Let's talk during OSC, but as RMT, it's a thing that almost everybody forgets of until it comes and hits you like a train.
One thing that I think is also important to consider is that as long as the adoption grows, we cannot really, like, can I use that word? We cannot really fuck up on this package, because then then you break the system. They will not have update paths. So we could have like failsafe, like Tumbleweed has that update repo, right, for factory. Like if you want to fix something in between snapshots, I was thinking that we could have something like that online XML file that allows you maybe to fetch a new version of only openSUSE repos to fix it. I don't know. It could be people could misuse it, but like I'm keeping this in mind, that I know that it would be nice if we screw up to have a way how to fix this, other than saying people download this from the whole project, right?
Maybe it could even have its own channel.
Yeah, but like I would really like to have an XML online repository which we can edit and like project the change like to anyone, right? That would be useful. Cool. Just saying, or the one that we cannot touch, maybe it would be service that just cannot be edited. It would be read-only, something like that.
Exactly. That's so. The thing is, the more flexibility you give to users, the more chances for users to come back at you and say like, hey, but there is this feature here. I saw it. I started using it.
Right.
And now because of you, my system is broken.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Right now, I believe it's set to soft fail, like on Tumbleweed. If I seen it correctly, that cannot be the case, right?
Yeah. So my thinking here is, if we are having a specific channel only for providing this update repo, you know, if the user or the customer, or I don't know, cyber organism manage to get there and break that thing, it's like, hey, we cannot help here. Yeah. So that's more what I'm looking at.
Exactly.
But I really love the what's the name? I really love the feature.
Yeah. Okay. Me too. Like, not necessarily how it's implemented and everything, but like the flexibility that it gives me just by touching single XML file. I don't have to worry about like what the file name is. That's really cool. You can easily remove, add repos as you need.
Yeah.
In snapshots, which is cool. But like, it's painful. Can I show you one test where this was really painful? I'm not sure if it's like bug in Zipper or it was in the. Okay, so I will show test suite of yeah, that's 101 of the Elite Micro, and that's the RC build. And if you go to,
man, if I saw that my name was there in the review, if I review it, it's probably my fault.
Wait a second, it was somewhere installation default, something like that, where basically Zipper was used, and I had to really, I think maybe leave zip config. No, in one of the repos, I really had to call Zipper as like on it was with Toolbox. Now I remember. Where is Toolbox? It will be probably like image default, I guess. Let's test here. Toolbox. Yeah, that was. What's the fastest way to look up? Well, I can look it up in the test, right? So yeah, it will be fastest.
Which is
and we go CD work. Yeah, increase font, right?
You were going to say what is the fastest way to find
test with this tree here, and we have it. It's in tests, and it will be Toolbox, right? Micro Toolbox, I guess. CD Micro. Yeah, and we have Toolbox here.
Right. I mean, that probably is the fastest way for people that are as proficient as you are with the command line. Otherwise, the answer would be on the test overview page. You can actually look for tests which include a certain module.
Yeah, but Oliver, maybe we can make a note here and think about having a feature at some point where, hey, from all of the test modules, or from, I want to look for a particular test module and then look for that test module all across the board, but we can talk about that.
Maybe I need to add this into the spec. Maybe it's already there. But it's annoying read-only, remove service, add service. Now we don't call refs. But maybe the refs would actually help here, like without the refreshing of the service. Repos, just refs, which will skip the fetching of repo data.
Because you are doing the...
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you create brand new toolbox, right?
Exactly.
And then you always have to refresh the service and stuff. Otherwise, it will complain that you have 0 repositories. Like, that's very annoying part of the openSUSE repos. I hope that we can like improve it somehow. I think that I was testing the refs and it didn't work for me for whatever reason. I believe that for Toolbox, I'm also calling it that. So I'm not sure if you know how Toolbox looks like. But Micro 6.0, if you go to...
Every time I use Toolbox, I end up getting angry because I don't know how to use it.
Yeah, I prefer
that's a panic problem, you know?
Yeah, this one. In the Toolbox image in config, which is actually executed during the building, I actually call Zipper refs to refresh like the service. But you can see that it still didn't save the openQA. Maybe I will add it to spec 2. But it's me guessing like whether it will work or not. And in the end, I always had to call it to make test actually pass. Which this is the annoying part of the package. I agree that there is a manual trigger. You know, like it could check, hey, did something change? Always, I understand it would be extra calls, but that makes like development of tests annoying. And I found it also annoying. It took me several iterations to get it all correctly, and I was trying to eliminate it as much as possible. But in two places, with every new toolbox instance, we, I think, create 2 or 3 in that single test suite. One under user, one under root, right? I always have to do that additionally. So if somebody would be adding such tests, it would fail with repos, and we have to have special handling, openSUSE repos.
I'm thinking, because I'm not sure if you can detect that you are under a toolbox container, and then
anywhere. If you add, if you have clean environment and you didn't call refs or RFS, like at some point you have to call it before even touching zipper repositories.
Okay. It's not about the.
We should just force Michael, on every refresh, just refresh services to do not make it like extra argument, and then this goes gone, right? This is
okay. Yeah. I was just under the impression for a moment that this zipper hack will be needed, but I see that it doesn't.
Only in the RPM spec file, right?
Exactly.
Like I can try it, but to me, it seems like it doesn't work as expected. Maybe there is only limited things that you can do within a single RPM transaction and or zipper call. I don't know. Maybe it would be blocked or something.
Actually, I wonder what will happen if you are calling this and you have the zipper single transaction also enabled.
Yeah.
If that brings a...
It shouldn't affect like the depth solving, which should be fine. It shouldn't affect anything in RPMDB. So it should be relatively safe.
Okay. Cool.
So that's it from me. So our problem, the gains that we are getting, like a little bit better, repo management in between updates or upgrades or individual snapshots, where we have flexibility. You see the downside. Since this package gets updated, it can also mess up system repositories. You know that we are testing it on 2 spots. It's marked as soft fail on Tumbleweed right now. Not ideal if people use it. We are a little bit behind, but so that even that also makes us even more rely on the CI.
Yeah.
And the last 2 failures were actually done by external people who wanted to contribute. And the problem was that there were tailing slashes behind like distro, like openSUSE or Leap or Tumbleweed. And in certain paths, it was expected that there is a tailing slash, and in certain paths, it was redundant. The person saw it on one place, he thought, oh, that's redundant everywhere, and then he actually broke it on, I think, Leap, specifically. Other distros were fine. So
okay.
But like you checked like all the other files, and you were like, this makes sense, totally.
Yeah.
Hey, and like hundreds of pings. Hey, my update is broken. You broke it. So.
Lubos, I would like to ask you one thing: is how was your experience with adding that test
Super cool.
to openSUSE?
Super cool. I have to tell you that I didn't have to do it like from scratch. Basically, up until this moment, I was always relying on Max, and it was better than on most other projects because I get support from people. Like in the initial PR, I think Santi did the demo run for me, right? Of the openQA, because I didn't know how to use openQA clone test. Now I know, and it's super easy. So once you actually figure out that there is that feature that you can just choose any test suite and maybe update the test or even add it to the existing test suite, that makes contribution like really easy. And I think it was Antonio's papas who actually showed me, hey, you can do it really easily. And then it was then you don't need to know anything else. The script logic is easy. You can just copy paste it from other tests. You just need to know what repositories, because you have one repository with test definitions, then one with mapping to products, right? So the trigger and the distri tests. And then there is a bunch of other repositories, I believe, that also, I know that if I'm changing like suffixes of images, for example, that are imported, I have to change it somewhere else too. So it matches, otherwise the import to openQA will not work. That's kind of already like a little bit messy, but initially adding a new test or even easier modifying existing test suite, once you know the openQA clone test, piece of cake. Right. The CI helps too. Like it makes sure that you actually have your scripts tidy. I have to say it was a little messy to actually install all the dependencies for make tidy. Especially I think on Leap, I had an issue with the installation from cpan for whatever reason. So I did install it manually. I did actually contribute to the README with list of all the dependencies that make you available, make it possible to run make tidy. And then it was clean. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how it's set up. I wish that everybody would know the openQA clone test, because that saves you a lot of time. You don't have to wait for others to tell you that.
Actually, already we have something which is probably more convenient. You can just write a comment in GitHub, something like openQA : and then a job URL. You can by that instruct the GitHub action to execute openQA clone job for you. So you don't need the terminal. You can just click around in a web browser from your Apple iPad.
We need to do a very short demo. I think, Santi, there was one video. We need to do like 5 minutes one and just show this, that one feature, and just show what repository to contribute to. Done.
Yes.
Don't say anything more, and like just let people with it and let them play with it.
So during OSC, I have a session for writing openQA tests or something like this. It's about contributing to the tests, and it's mostly a feature showcase for test development. Because in the past, I think I don't want to call it the error of our ways, but we were focusing a lot on the openQA setup.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, thanks to contributions from the tools team and many others, we are at a point in time where we can lower the contribution bar enough that, as Oliver mentioned, a comment on GitHub solves that 90% of the problem.
Absolutely.
So in the next, actually, we can also do in these contribution workshops, we can do one more round and just go there and stay like on the browser.
I would say just like update existing tests, like do that once
Exactly.
in 5 minutes and show people like the CI process, like what everything helps you
Mhm.
to actually not mess up the test. And that was like really pleasant experience. I have to tell you, like better than with like comparing, like I hope that nobody listens from Outdoor team, but compared to like openSUSE repos where you have no comments and stuff, like you still have CI runs, but like I was really happy to see that people were responding, and then Felix kind of offered, hey, I can comment in this, and I was like, whoa, nice. So now I have like one more person who is watching over this. So that was like a really beautiful experience.
I guess the big challenge for adding a test like openSUSE repos is to understand the complete matrix of products and combinations, where it's like, okay, you have Tumbleweed, you have different architectures, then you have micro.
We should test /2, for example. Like, does it get installed there? Like, it shouldn't be possible, for example. Yeah.
Right, and considering that, and then knowing like, okay, where are existing tests? Where can I find something which I can look at first, and then I need to add it to the according schedule of testing. Then I need to run a test to verify that, and then combine all of that again in your pull request to say like, I tested on this long list of products, and this is how it should behave in all the different combinations.
Cool. By the way, Bernhard, how do we make it part of like slow roll testing? Like, I suppose you have test suite. I think that we need to cut it from the extra test console, make it like little test suite, maybe with some like other basic stuff, make sure that it's on macOS. I don't have it, explicitly there, but it would be quite nice. So that's like my next challenge. And then test migrations, that this actually helps, that it doesn't stand in the way of what used to be seamless migration from lead to SLES. Cool. So that's all from me. I'm exhausted with like what I think that I can share with people that will be still useful.
So one more hint that I can give is there's also a possibility to trigger openQA test in, for example, the openSUSE repos repository itself. So you would be able to say, I have the super small openQA test, which is actually triggered on every pull request before even merging a change to that.
We have the spec not in Git, but in OBS. I'm not sure if it complicates the thing or not. Something would have to call like something like OSC, BCA, base system, openSUSE repos.
The question is basically, how would you test your changes to the openSUSE repos changes? Because if you can do it as a user,
I can.
Then you can tell openQA to do it. Like, check
like
out
I would
this.
do it. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I just want to mention that if you follow the openQA, or you or anyone else, you follow the openQA documentation on openQA.
Can I do this? Wait a second.
You will find examples on how we integrate that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, right.
Do that, and then I will add some hints there in that issue.
Oh, I cannot reference you because you're not here. But
I guess you can force to reference me,
yeah.
like at or Kurz.
And then a good remark. We can call openQA touchdown from the thing APR. Let's We'll paste it here.
Yep, cool.
Again, to be somehow
right. Okay.
And I'm really happy that the package actually gets.
Yeah,
like we have PRs from multiple people, which is nice, including Andreas. Team, even Andreas Schwab is actually contributing. Yeah, I take it like really as a really good, but some people like the idea.
Nice. Okay, thanks a lot, Lubos. That was quite
insightful,
both for users as well as from perspective of how do the tests work, or how can one contribute testing for a feature. In this case, a package, but it could also be something else. Next week, as you guys already mentioned, there's the openSUSE conference, so we are not running a tools workshop in the usual format. Just visit us at the openSUSE conference for the various opportunities and talks and discussions and workshops that we have. And after that, on the 5th of July, the next meeting will be about SUSE QE Tools roadmap discussion at the start of July, where we can showcase what we have resolved since last week and last month. And then
Oliver, I see it still in calendar openSUSE.org. We should probably cancel it. I did cancel like all of the other meetings, but this one I cannot right now because it's throwing, I guess, maintenance or something. Oh no, okay, it works now.
Should I just, if you can,
I can't do it. I'm not in your team. I'm not in your team, so I can't do it.
Sure, I will look into that to remove the individual. Okay, so thank you guys for this. Let's say goodbye. Bye.